All right, will do. Welcome to, this is our third quarterly DataVault North American User Group. We call it DVNAUG for short. And I just want to say that we appreciate all of the people that have joined us. And I noticed that when people signed up, there was about 20 people that had never been to one of our events. And I don't know if they know what DataVault is or if they just haven't been to one of our events and they're using DataVault. So I'm going to go ahead. And by the way, I'm Mary Mink. I'm the president of the user group. And I'm just going to go over what is DataVault especially for the new folks. So DataVault is a system of business intelligence containing necessary components needed to accomplish enterprise vision in data warehousing and information delivery. Okay, so that's a big statement. And really, what I see DataVault as, it's a business-centric approach to bringing your data together and making it usable for the business. And it's not a product. It's made up of three components: a model, a methodology, and an architecture. And the model is the key thing in the model that I like the most is that it's pattern-based. And because it's pattern-based, anything that's pattern-based can be automated. And so there's like 10 DataVault automation, or I call it actually acceleration tools that are out there in the business. And we're lucky to have 4 of those vendors who are sponsors, and you're going to hear from them. And DataVault Builder is actually one of them who will be presenting. And what's really great about this model, and DataVault's a different way of thinking and a different approach to bringing your data platform together, and it's a modern architecture. So it's historical, it's granular, it's resilient to change, it's scalable, it's auditable. So it's really great for our data governance practices, and it's fault tolerant. We bring in 100% of the data 100% of the time, and without failure. And it helps you to be proactive and always bringing in more data. It's also an insert-only methodology, which is really great for our MPP architectures, because you really can take advantage of that. Your compute's going to be lower when you're in the cloud, like in Snowflake or any of our cloud providers. It's going to be a lower cost for you because it's insert only, and it's business oriented. Okay, so in the methodology, we are driven by the business. We start with the business. We don't start with the data. We start with the business, and we marry that data together to bring the business value that they need. It's agile, it's consistent, it's repeatable. We use, and I know that they're going to be speaking about this later. We use deterministic hash keys. And what that allows us to do is load data out of sequence. You can load the children before the parent. And the big benefit is it's great for streaming data. If you get data out of sequence, no problem. It'll naturally heal itself. And another thing is with your batch programs that are bringing in data, maybe even on a daily batch cycle, your window you're dependent. You have data dependencies. With DataVault, you don't have data dependencies. And that way you can really take advantage of MPP architecture. And then the architecture that supports it is platform agnostic. So a DataVault can be built on Snowflake, on SQL Server, Oracle, Teradata. You can move them even easily because it works on whatever platform you're on. Okay, so that's a little bit about DataVault. Hopefully you'll definitely learn more throughout the session, but just wanted to give a little overview. So our agenda today. I'll introduce the board. The board and the sponsors are who make this happen, who allow us to bring this to you every quarter. And I'm going to introduce the board, and then we're going to hear from some of the sponsors. We've decided instead of lining up all the sponsors at the beginning, we're going to hear from 5 of the sponsors. Then we're going to hear from Peter Bellas, who is the CEO of DataVault Builder, and he's going to give us an overview of his product, which isn't one of those acceleration tools, DataVault acceleration tools. And then we're going to hear from our the other 4 sponsors, and then we're going to have a 5-minute break, and then we're going to get to hear from Gregory Locke, who is the director of enterprise data at Yale University. And we're super excited to have him speak today. We love the fact that DataVault is in the universities, and especially in such a prestigious university as Yale University. So we're really excited to hear his customer success and how they decrease their time to market, and how they're achieving agile and scalable platform architecture. And then after that, we're going to have a 10-minute Q&A. And also, please post your questions in the chat, and we'll be monitoring those so that we can do that in an orderly fashion when we get to the Q&A. And then we're going to have, it's called Dan's Words of Wisdom. Unfortunately, Dan is not able to be with us today, so Cindy will bringing this information. It's really exciting information. It's about the DataVault Alliance memberships, and they're offering a 12-month free membership, and it's to DataVault, like a DataVault knowledge base. And she's going to go into that and explain that. What that is. And then our sponsors, all of our sponsors offer a gift if you opted in, and worth $50. And so we'll give those prizes away at the end and let you know about our next event. So our board member is made up of, we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us. And so it's made up of Cindy Meyerson from Data Rebels, and she's in charge of operations. Gail Bunn, she's not with us here today, but she's in charge of professional development, and she works at Resultant. Then we have Keith Bellinger, who has been on the board for quite a long time, and since the beginning, and he just recently joined SQL DBM, and he's in charge of membership services. And then we have Jim Freyer, who is our treasurer, and at JD Data Solutions. And then myself, I'm at Resultant. And we have Karen Edmond, and she's an independent consultant. And Sam Bendayan is going to be late. He was in a client meeting, and he's in charge of the sponsorship services and at Resultant also. And then we have Janet McFarland, who has done a tremendous amount of work to bring this to us today. And she is in charge of event planning. She is in Canada at Alberta Motor Association. So let's hear from the first 5 sponsors. So the first one is going to be Vault Speed, and this is Brian Mull is going to speak.
Hi, I'm Brian Mull with Vault Speed. I'm a pre-sales engineer out in the field with Vault Speed, and I'm really excited to announce to you that release 5.5 of Vault Speed is coming out at the end of this month. That's still going to be a DataVault first SaaS automation solution that provides model-driven guided development within the DataVault 2.0 standard, built to create release by release of your data warehouse, to guide your setup, to provide the DDL, the ETL, and the orchestration for each release of your data warehouse. We're still deploying to the best of breed target platforms like Snowflake, Google BigQuery, Databricks, Azure Synapse, generating native code for those. No code generation and no code modeling of your raw vault, all the way to the low code modeling of your business vault and presentation layers. In the new release, we're really excited. We've got a Python SDK coming, automation on the automation, taking advantage of our SaaS and the robust API we have. Our users have asked for it. Document generation for your entire data warehouse at the push of a button, and also new improved support for DBT to Databricks and full support of Google BigQuery. We're really happy to be a part of the DVNAUG user group here, and thanks for having VaultSpeed.
Thank you, Brian. And next we have SQL DBM, and Keith Bellinger is going to speak.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be back, standing in front of a different logo this time than the last time. But yes, I am the product evangelist at SQL DBM. So what is SQL DBM? SQL DBM is a data modeling tool, a SaaS-based data modeling tool built from the cloud up. So there's no longer any install to do any of your type of modeling. All upgrades and changes automatically come through, allowing you to be able to get to your models from just about any browser and having your typical cloud-based security capabilities. SQL DBM does support all the primary cloud-based databases, so Snowflake, Azure Synapse, Databricks, BigQuery, and also some other on-prem databases can be done as well. Not only can you do your data modeling within SQL DBM, but also you can connect it into your DevOps platforms and into your CI/CD pipeline. So no need to just generate your DDL and have to manually bring them over to generate. You can plug them into your integrations with Azure DevOps, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and AWS Code Commit. Coming out soon, we're pretty excited about being able to create DDL and YAML templates. So if you're still modeling your data vaults, through a data modeling tool, this will allow you to make sure your hubs, links, satellites, pits, bridges are being modeled per the standard. I think we all know, as we'll hear today, it's very important to be following the standards. This will allow you to make sure you're able to create those new tables, leveraging these templates to accelerate that capability. Also, for sharing your documentation with your users and your organization, we have direct integration into tools like Confluence and Jira. So as you're ready to publish your diagrams and data dictionaries and so forth, you can publish those directly to Confluence, allowing folks to navigate that documentation without having to have licensing to SQL DBM to navigate that. Also, if you're using Jira to track your tickets or things that you can tag your tables and so forth, that those tickets were what created those tables and columns. And also new features just coming out, as I call it Data Governance Lite, a new product. You are now able to add custom metadata fields to your columns and tables that might enhance what your business needs to know, like who's the data owner, maybe what the data classification is of that data, a report feature so that you can share that information with your organization, and pages, which allows you to create like rich text formatted wiki-like pages to kind of give you like a glossary and high-level business information and point them down to some of that other detailed tables. So if anybody's interested, go to sqldbm.com, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Keith. And next up is Performance G2, and we have John Steinbeck going to speak.
Hello, John Steinbeck here with Performance G2. I'm a DataVault architect, and we offer DataVault training and consulting, and we have a business-centric approach with the emphasis on delivering value, all paired with a thin-to-win mentality. So give us a look out. Thank you.
Okay, John, thank you. Okay, next up, we have Peter Velez from DataVault Builder.
Good. I think I would propose we skip the slide and start the presentation, if this is okay.
Sounds good. Let me go to the next sponsor. That's very nice of you. Okay, so the next sponsor is InfoVia, and we have Mike Kalusik.
Hi, Mary. I'm subbing in for Mike Kalusic today. This is Mike Migelski. Happy to be here and looking forward to Peter's presentation. We've had our eye on DataVault Builder for a long time. We are an automation-minded data pipeline and data management company. And what would differentiate us is that we take that automation all the way through to the InfoMart layer and include access control. So you can see our InfoSecure access control tool there on the right-hand side. That's allowing you to manage who sees what rows and columns in your consumer access layer. We have done about 30 data vaults over the past 5.5 years and have 100% customer success. And so we would welcome a discussion with anyone who is either set on doing DataVault or still curious about DataVault. Nice to have both sets of folks in this call today, and we look forward to Peter's presentation.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, thanks, Mary. I will take over now and introduce Peter. Peter Bellis is the CEO of 2150 DataVault Builder AG. He's worked on data warehouses and data modeling since about the year 2000 and has been using DataVault for modeling or DataVault modeling for data warehouse automation since about 2012. He recognized early on the need for DataVault automation when it comes to building data vaults, and he and his colleagues started to develop a tool that today is DataVault Builder, and he's going to chat about that now. Take it away, Peter.
Yeah. Thank you a lot. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for all the nice words. Exactly. Now I can share my screen. Perfect. So let's share that. So you're seeing probably the wrong content right now. What happened? Give me 1 second. Let's share the screen again. No, it should be fine. You see my PowerPoint slide. Is this correct?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so let's start. My name's Peter Bellis, and I was already introduced, but what I want to say is if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do that. I'm always happy to discuss topics about data modeling, whatever it is, and as well, not regarding our product. If you just have interest in data modeling, you have any questions, any interesting ideas, please contact me. I'm very open as well to drink a coffee with you online if there is something to be discussed. Maybe as a little bit background, I started in finance. I started with classical Inman data warehousing, third normal form. My first job was to add 2 new columns to the customer entity. And it took me about 5 minutes to add the 2 new columns, but we needed to rehistorize the customer. And as everything was connected to the customer, we needed to rehistorize all the other entities in the data warehouse. So 5 minutes change became like a 3 months project just to add 2 new columns. And we realized that all the Inman approaches, they had many good things, and still I believe it was a great leap forward for the industry, but there are some issues with maintainability that needs to be addressed. And that's what I realized already in the early days of my career. Later on, when I switched over to telecommunications, we tried to do more of dimensional modeling, hoping that this will fix these maintainability things. And it did work great for like 2 or 3 data sources. But again, when we added a 4th, 5th, 6th data source for the same conform dimension, we got into like maintenance hell. And this is why back in 2012, when we started our first near real-time project and it needed to be really agile, we had only 3 months until go live, the specification wasn't finished, that we decided to try something new. And we tried DataVault modeling, it worked out, but we figured out it doesn't work for us without automation. So that's why we started creating a data warehouse automation tool. In 2012, we have clients since 2012 using it. 2015, it became a product, and I will here a little bit introduce you in the philosophy of the tool, but I will concentrate less like on the marketing slides and more on the modeling behind it, how we see it, and I will highlight a little bit blogs I wrote about this kind of topics, and we will see where it takes us. In the second part, I will do as well a short demo. If there are any questions, please put them on the chat. I will regularly check the chat and see if I maybe have something to say about what you asked later, then I would answer it later, Otherwise, I will answer it right away. So what I will mix here is, if you see these black slides, they're from my blog content, and you find that on our webpage. And there are two blog entries that I will highlight. One is data modeling that, and the second one is then a project by the German-speaking DataVault user group. They did a project that should show how people build data warehouses to perform tests against your approach that you have and to benchmark different approaches. And they have created a virtual company called Willibald Seed. And you have on GitHub a data set of two different source systems. You have business requirements. You need to fulfill some reporting needs, and you can really use that as a training set, as a benchmarking set. And I will introduce you to this kind of project at the end of my presentation. And this could be a good step forward for you if you want to try out this kind of methods yourself. So just about the DataVault Builder company, we're located in Zurich, Switzerland, where I am currently. So for me, it's nearly midnight. And we have clients around Europe, in the US, in Australia, New Zealand. And as we can't serve them all from Zurich, we have more than 50 implementation partners worldwide that help our clients to use the tool. So we are a tool vendor, and we have implementation partners, BI consultancies, that help our clients to implement the DataVault Builder. I give you just two short examples, and I think this is a good example for the usage of DataVault. What can be done with this approach? And we have a client called eGym. They're producing these machines for gyms, and they collect all the data they produce with every push up. It collects data point, and based on that, they're calculating recommendations, what you should do in your next exercise. They look for the maintenance of the machine. They look how the different gyms are using the machine, if they can do any upselling and stuff like that. And they have a data team of 2 people. And these 2 people don't do just the integration of the data. They write the reports, they service their data consumers. And this shows how efficient approach with DataVault and automation or acceleration can be if you use it right. On the other side, DataVault can become really big. Pro7 is a company having different TV stations in Europe, a little bit like Time Warner. They have online business, offline business. They're selling content. And they had 2 different on-prem data warehouses. One was already designed with their own automation tooling, and the other one was created with a completely different approach. Now they're moving to the cloud. They want to become even more agile, as they already were, and now decided to merge both data warehouses using the DataVault approach into one big data warehouse. And they have now 40 different developers, and this works only because they use a distributed development approach. So you can really use the DataVault approach to split up the work into smaller bits, and know that by the design of the data modeling approach, you will be able to merge everything together in one bigger data model. And this is really cool, I think. If you want to see how we compare against other tools, as I promised you to leave out the marketing stuff out of the presentation, you can go to our webpage. There you can download it. You will see how happy our clients are. They seem to be the happiest according to the study, and what are the benefits of our tool. But I will go now more into the challenges we're solving. So today, usually companies don't have the issue to get data, but they have a lot of data, but it's split all over the place. You receive it from different IT systems you own. You receive it from external data providers, from your clients, from your providers of goods and stuff like that. And you need to provide data to many different data consumers, internal ones. Maybe if you need legal reporting, you need to provide different reports. You have dashboarding, you have data science, and all of them need different data, but they need it in a good quality. It needs to be updated in a reliable way, and it needs to be complete. It needs to be clean, and all of this. And this is creating really a big, big challenge. And I believe because people sometimes don't realize how difficult it is, what you need to solve in this kind of data integration process, these projects might fail because people don't think about the complexity of it. So let's break it down. What do you need to do to provide such a service? Is you need to design what you want to do. and I agree with what was said in the beginning, we should start with the business. It's always about business needs, reporting, and data about business processes and business concepts. The next thing is you need to build your solution. So you need to write some code, tables, load statements, ETL jobs. You need to move the data in and update it regularly. You should document what you have done, because otherwise, a few months down the road, you will have troubles. You need to version your code, especially if you're in a regulated market, but as well, if you're not, most probably you should version your code that you see what you did in which point in time. You should test your stuff, and especially if you go into agile development, you should regularly test again and again what you changed, and you should deploy it. You should have several environments running your system, so you have something where you can develop your stuff, where you can test. Maybe you have a user acceptance test environment, you have production environment. If you go further, you have maybe pre-production environment, and you need to publish the code in between it. And the thing that many people probably didn't realize yet if they go into data warehousing is that we should have sandboxes. If we want to do distributed development, this means that if we want to work in parallel on different features and allow Git to separate the code, we need to work in sandboxes. And then we need a system to deploy the changes between them. And at the end, we want to operate this stuff. And when we think it's already over, then we realize we should log some errors. We should look at these logs. We should heal maybe some problems automatically, and over time improve the whole system. And the bad thing is you need to do all at once if you work agile. So how do you solve these problems of doing all these different tasks, understanding them, and doing them all at once? And the solution back when I started looked a little bit like this. So we had one tool for data modeling, we have the ETL tool, we had database client software, we had manual coding, some Excels always, we had the deployment tool, deploying the code, we had a separate data profiling tool, we used some pattern generators to solve like STD type 2 historization, then we used the orchestration and scheduling tool, and we wrote documentation manually, and somebody at the end maybe generated some data lineage. And it was terrible. And I believe that really many projects, and I think Gartner wrote about 50% of such projects fails because the complexity of managing all the tools, managing resources, knowing about all these tools and managing the interfaces is very difficult if you start a project, but it's manageable. But over time, when you need to replace components, upgrade them, it doesn't work out. Except you have maybe teams of 15 people not doing anything else than just keeping all the system running. So what do? We try to take a completely different approach. So we start with the data model. And now some people that are longer in the business will probably tell me, yes, but we did that before. Data modeling didn't work out. It was just the extra cost. Nobody looked at the model and it didn't help us. And yes, when we created enterprise data models, that took like 7 months, the first I worked on. And by the time we were finished, the requirements changed already, the business changed. It was not of a lot of value. We printed out these data models, we handed them over to the developers. The developers looked at the data and told us, hey, this is not matching the data, you need to change stuff. And nobody used that. That at least was my personal experience, but I've met a lot of experienced data modelers telling me exactly the same story, really frustrated about their job because they are not providing the value they could. So what we do here is we thought about how to provide value to the business users and to the IT at the same time. And what we do is that we have a very simple conceptual and logical data modeling in here, creating core business concepts, relations, and that's the main thing of the first workshops. And the business profits that we generate the metadata out of these data models that they can consume them directly in the reports. And the second thing is they profit from is that they don't need to wait for IT to have their first version integrated, but in real time, we are taking this data model and generating working code. And this is as well where IT profits. They have less work to do, which is really boring, like creating tables, creating load statements, always really installing the same patterns just by dragging boxes around. So both sides profit, both sides are motivated to work together on this integrated data model. And from that, we can generate in a deterministic way all the implementation that we need. And it doesn't stop there. So we have the data model and we generate the working code. But this is not the only challenge that we have. We need to as well take care about infrastructure, automation, documentation, data lineage, data profiling, deployment, and operations logging, and high availability. And this is really what the DataVault Builder takes care of. So what is the theoretical background? Data models for me give meaning to things. And this is as well the reason why I don't want to start with data. Data is there, yes, we need to take care of, but in fact, we're starting from the top, from the meaning. We try to understand what the business is about, and this is not new. The basic things of modeling comes from the theory of ontologies. So we have classes and concepts, which then later on might become something like entities, or in DataVault, maybe hubs. We have properties, which describe these classes or concepts, become attributes, and in DataVault, then maybe satellites. And we have relationships, where we have maybe some relation between the entities in some diagrams, and in DataVault, we have then links. So this is nothing new, but DataVault helps us to implement it in a way that it becomes manageable, updatable, maintainable over time. And the people ask me always, why should we use models? And I say, because it's a simplification of the real world, which helps you to understand things. If I show you a tree is so complex with all its leaves, you can't never capture all the complexity of a leaf. So you can do a simpler model, and maybe this simpler model already explains you a little bit. There is a stem, there are leaves, and you understand a little bit how it works. And maybe for your understanding of what you're doing, a very, very simplified, abstract representation is already enough. And this is exactly what we do in data modeling. We try to take the reality, which is really complex, and try to express a simple way how to understand it. In Switzerland, we have this drawing here. It says "Ceci n'est pas une pipe," so this is not a pipe, and it's really not a pipe. It's a picture of a pipe. It's a model of a pipe, and this we need to differentiate a little bit. And how does this help? Imagine that we have this forest. If I show you the picture of the forest, you say nice forest, but I don't know what the business model of this is. And if I show you now a simple representation that we have a forest, we have trees, we have forester, we have some different owners of the trees, only by showing you this simple model about this forest, you will probably understand what this company is doing with the forest. They're taking care of trees, somebody owns them, so maybe he wants to make a profit, and you can already start a little bit imagining how this stuff works. So which kind of models do we use? And here in staging, we just replicate. Here we don't use really model. That's data driven, but in the core, we use the DataVault modeling approach to express exactly the things themselves as hubs, attributes about the things, and relations of these things as link tables. And this is more than third normal form normalized. So we create more tables than you would maybe in a third normal form approach. But it's more normalized than anything that we need on the output side. So we should never, ever let people access the DataVault directly. So what we do, we need to have here again a simplified query layer, and that might be for many people a dimensional approach. But the difference is to the Kimball described approaches that we don't load the data directly from staging into the dimensional approach, but we can virtualize this kind of model. So if we need to change something here, my example, just adding 2 columns in the customer dimension, I don't need to rehistorize everything. My data is here stored in my Unix source of facts, and I can just regenerate the views on top of it. And like this, we become very, very agile. And for me, important is DataVault is for me not like a revolution, even it has many, many great new things, but it's an evolution for me for the third normal form. So if you ask as well in the works of Bill Inman, you will see that he is as well saying, hey, this is something you should use. That's an evolution of what we've done before. It solves exactly this kind of maintainability problems that we had before, and now we're good. So how do we put this into the product? We start usually with our conceptual and logical data model, and from that, in real time, in the database, we derive database tables, views, load statements, completely automatic and in real time. And I will show you later that we as well do it in the other direction. And as base database, we still use relational databases. So we have different databases that we support. And all the structures, all the metadata, all the data is always in the same database as one unit. The second step we do the staging part. So here we do just define the connections to our source systems, and we get the data, if possible, with one-to-one copies directly to the staging area. In the next step, step 3, we connect the staging area with the data vault by defining the business key. The business key is identifying an entity or a concept and goes into a hub. There's one question, or at least a chat, so okay, no question, good. So step 1, data model, we generate everything. Step 2, we stage the data. Step 3, we load it by defining the business key. You don't need to define any loads and anything, because if you define the model and you link it, the data by the business key, everything else can be generated. So the loads for the hubs, for the satellites, for the links, for the tracking objects, all of this can be generated in real time. Now we have the data vault, and now we need to decide what our data consumer wants. And this can be different. So if you use Power BI, Click, or Tableau, it might be that you want to have a dimensional model. If you use Sub Business Object or Cognos, you might want to have a third normal form output, and that's possible. And this is really a thing that many people don't see at the first glance. Even if you use DataVault in the core to be completely maintainable and agile, you can create a perfect normal third normal form virtual output. And you can even generate this completely deterministically. Just join the hubs, the many-to-one links, and the satellite into one object, and you're good to go. More and more people want to receive flat tables. These are our data scientist friends. They want to just use their pandas data frame. They don't want to do any joining. They want to have all their features on one layer. And our people that want to do data mesh, they want to create data products, something in between. And this is all possible because here we can just define the grain, which will be the starting point for the interface, which is a hub. And then we can denormalize it down to a level that we need. So we can decide if we output just the city as it is, or we take the country and denormalize it down to the city. Stuff like that can be decided here. And as well, this layer is completely model-driven with the Data Vault Builder. On top of it, you can put in the virtual rules. This is probably the bit that was the hardest for me in the beginning to learn, that we don't put business rules while loading the data. This is what we heard in the beginning. We store the unique source of facts, not of some golden record stuff. And here we can apply business rules and decide now if we virtually output them directly to the output, or if we turn the switch and write down derived data in the so-called business vault, which can give new satellites, new link entries, or even sometimes if we do aggregations, new hubs at a different grain. So what do we different than other tools? And here I come from the teachings of Simpson and Witt, which wrote very, very good books about data modeling approaches in general. And they say there are different layers of data models. One is the conceptual model, where you care about what the thing is about. Then there's the logical model, where you care about the business keys, the relations, and you go more into the details. And at the end, you have then a physical model. And usually you go from the conceptual to the logical model. And at the end, you have the physical model in the database with maybe primary keys, foreign keys, indexes, stuff like that. And the problem is, when I started in the industry, we usually had for every layer its own model. So you were like creating a conceptual model, you exported that, imported it into a different model, there you added the logical attributes, then you press the button and you generated the physical implementation. The problem is, if somebody changed the physical implementation, your logical and conceptual model never got updated. And after like 2 or 3 months, people realized that there is a disconnect and that it doesn't work out. So we looked for a way that we can regularly just generate our physical design based on the logical data model. And that's possible if you use a pattern-based approach. And we created a way backwards. There are some tools with reverse engineering capabilities, but we realized this connection back needs to be in real time, that any time we look at the logical or the conceptual data model, we know it is matching the physical data model. And this is what we did. So instead of taking the modeling tool working against the repository, like probably all the other tools work, and then press the button and generate your physical implementation, we have realized that this creates delays and a disconnect between them. So we removed the repository. In the DataVault Builder, if you work in the tool in real time, the implementation is created. And this means that at the same second you're modeling, you can give the business users a feedback what the data looks like, how it works out if you choose different business keys, stuff like that. And it works two ways. So if you change something in the physical implementation, if you change metadata, or if you delete a hub in the database, the model gets updated. And usually here, some people get completely freaked out if I do like sales presentations to see, why are you changing our production system in real time? No, we don't. Never would do that. But you should have more than one environment. We do this in your development environment, or if you have bigger installations or a more mature organization, in a sandbox environment where you develop your features. Then we use an ITIL conform deployment path to deploy all these changes to test to production. So one example, if I create here like a new concept in my data model for a flight, in the same second, the hub is created at the database level, the metadata is created, is attached to it. If I would change here the metadata, the object gets changed in the model. So instead of going through the development process step by step and ending up here maybe weeks, days, or if you're partially automated, hours later, we go down to seconds. And this is what I will show you in the live demonstration. If you look for the business key, how we can react to new information that our assumption about the business key wasn't correct. The second thing is what we do different is that we assume that the physical implementation over time will change. Databases get updated. SQL Server got updated maybe once a year before with new service packs version. Snowflake gets updated now on a regular basis. Usually every 3 months we need to change stuff because they're evolving so fast. So if you do something manually, you need to as well update your physical implementation manually. And here we don't need to do that. We have the business model, and from that we can generate again new implementations. And the difference in the DataVault Builder is that you don't need to write this pattern yourself. We deliver the patterns with the tool. So if there is a new version of your database, you install the newest version of DataVault Builder and you will get the new patterns. But this doesn't help you because you have already physical implementation, unless, and that's what we do, we deliver you update scripts for your existing physical implementation. So this is a very important part that as well in the long run, you will be able to load, update, and query your data vault. And why is that possible? Because we're based on standards. And I usually have this example where I say it doesn't matter where hot and where cold water is, as long as it's always the same. Otherwise, you will burn your hands. And so we use always in the core data vault modeling. But as I mentioned, for output, if somebody wants to have third normal form, that's fine. But on the output, not in the core. And we have very strict technical naming. So on all 180 installations we have worldwide with the DataVault Builder, a hub always starts with H underscore. You can't change that. Yes, it limits you, but on the other side, if 10 years down the road, we need to send you an update script to change maybe the hash type in your hubs, we will find all of them. You don't need to do anything, and your physical data model gets updated automatically. And you're completely free to use whatever business names and rules you have because your business is running differently than others. So you can use whatever you need to model your business. And the funny thing is, and we will see this in the Yale example, they have a little bit of a different number, and I can explain why. Here is, you save time if you use automation, but what people usually don't consider in the beginning, and which is for me the more important argument to use that is you reduce risk. By standardization and automation, you have a proven approach that worked in so many other companies that the chance that you can realize that as well is so much higher than if you start coding manually. And it lowers your maintenance costs because by standardization, somebody else is taking care of the physical maintenance of your data model, of updating the tool, implementing new functionality. We say here 90%, and this is really on the time, like creating hubs, satellites, and stuff. In the Yale example, we will see they measured the time over the whole project, and stuff like understanding the data, like talking to your business users will not go away just by magic. So automation helps you save considerable time, but you will see it in the live example in the second part. And what's about agility? So our approach here is that we really think that as soon as you change the model, you can change the physical implementation, and there are fixed rules. That's what we heard in the beginning. There are fixed patterns. We know exactly every time a hub is created what needs to be changed in the database, and we can do that right away. And just because we have it at the database level doesn't mean that we can work with Git, because if we would take now the physical implementation of the database and check this kind of physical implementation into Git, every time we need to update the physical implementation just for some technical reason, we would see some changes in the Git repository which are not driven by the business. So what we do is we export this kind of physical implementation in a business-wise description in a human-readable format with simple files that should be understood by everybody. So probably if you look at this for a few seconds, you will understand that this is about a hub called flight, having the ID h_flight, and there could be some comments and stuff like that. And this is the level of that we check into Git to make branching and merging data models possible. And this is really the basis to become really agile, to allow distributed development. And the benefit of this is that if we have different features and we develop them in different sandboxes, we can decide that we have a feature that is where development started later can be deployed earlier. And this is really the test you should do before you start using any automation tool, if this kind of scenario is covered, and if tools claim to use Git, if they really check in the models, the states into Git, or if they check in deployment scripts, which is not that helpful if you want to branch and merge your environments. Good. So just two things before we jump into the live demo. Where does the DataVault builder run? We're a cloud native tool, and we heard it from some of our competitors. SaaS is getting really big, and this is really something we offer as well. But as we deliver the software as Docker containers, you can decide at any point in time if you want to consume it as a SaaS service, if you want to run it in your private cloud on Azure, AWS, or wherever, or run it on premises on a Linux server, and you can revisit this decision at any point in time. So we have like clients starting on-prem. If they don't have the legal work completed, then they move to the cloud, and as the tool is completely stateless, you have no migration cost to move between the different providers. New as well, now together with Microsoft, we added support for ACI, so you don't even need to set up like some virtual machine or Kubernetes clusters in your private cloud. You can just use our configuration file, and the application starts up in Azure without anything that you need to add. And what are the modules that we cover? I mentioned it in the beginning. Going from development to production, there are many modules we need to cover. So it starts with infrastructure automation. I have done this already before this webinar, so it took me 2 minutes. I just started the script, went for a coffee. When I came back, my DataVault builder is running, loaded the newest version of my data model from Git, and I'm ready to go. It can be completely automated. Then what we will see in the live demonstration is we will change the data model and code will be generated, and we can as well change code and the data model is generated, but today we don't have that much time, so I will probably show only one way direction. Data profiling is built in alongside documentation, and data lineage will be created. I will not show the regression testing, but we have APIs, so you can use any testing tool to run automatically test by creating a new environment, loading your new data model, loading test data, and getting the results all through REST APIs. Deployment is built in. There are two ways of deployment. One is the simplified deployment. This means that you can compare two environments like development and test. It gives you the differences. You select what you want to deploy, and it creates you the script or execute the changes for you. And this is probably as many people worked in the past. But additionally, we do support the full Git flow-based process with branching a data model, working in a sandbox, and then committing your changes on your branch to Git for a pull request, data review by your colleagues, and all of this. And if you get tired of deploying the stuff yourself, you can automate it because the REST APIs, code versioning happening in Git, operation is built in. So we have a built-in scheduler, we have a built-in job runner that will parallelize everything that is possible up to the level that you configure. It will log all the results. It will do some self-healing if there are some problems with the data sources. And at the end, you can achieve as well high availability. And everything, really everything in the tool that I will show you today has its own REST API. So if you want to automate that further, that's possible. Good. So let's jump into the live demonstration. And still the offer, if you have any questions, just put them on the chat. So what do we see here now? We see the DataVault Builder. The DataVault Builder is a server-based tool, and I have a browser-based front end. And here I have the different modules that I mentioned in the overview. We have the staging module, the data viewer for data profiling, the DataVault with different subsections, dimension model, that's just the name, but here you can create as well flat tables or turn normal form output. You have the business rules section to add your rules. Then we have the data lineage section where we will see how the data flows through the system. We have the operations module where all the jobs will be created. And then we can as well look later into documentation and deployment. I already used the deployment module to load my data model, and automatically from Git, it created everything that we need into my current installation. So what do we see here? We have the blue boxes. The blue boxes are core business concepts, and they translate at the physical level to hubs. We have relations, and they translate to links. And maybe for you that do DataVault for a longer time, you will see that this arrow is directed. And this doesn't mean that we create like a link table that is directed, but that it helps us to understand the data model at the conceptual and logical level, and it helps us to automate the extraction in the dimension model, so we can create automatically driving views and stuff like that. We have here the small dot, represents a satellite. We have this big colorful bubbles representing subject areas. We can click on every object, and it gives us the metadata for it. And what I can do here as well is to say, okay, we need like a new object in our data model. We need like to have cars, and it just goes in vehicles, and I do some typo in the comment. And in the second, I added to my model the database table, and that might be on Snowflake, on SQL Server. It was already created, and I can query it. And we see that we have the 4 columns that you know by DataVault standards. And we see here our naming standards that _h is used for the hash key column and BK for the business key column. But you're completely free to use car or whatever you want to name this object that corresponds to your business terms. Now, I skipped the part in jumping in the database. We can do this maybe later if we have time at the end. Now, the next part is to go into staging area. Already different source systems were imported here. From my Git repository, I could go here and select from the connectors to get some more data. Here we have SAP, we have JDBC drivers, we have gRPC to connect to Python scripts, we can through Trino connect to NoSQL servers. Everything is possible here. So let's go here and let's stage some new data. I'm using here a CSV file system. That's why I don't have too much metadata coming from the source. So it's loading everything as a string, and there are no comments. But if it would be a database source, I would see that. I skip now a lot of options like CDC loading, like loading bitemporal data with external timelines, like delta loading. This is all built in by the patterns, but as we work in an agile fashion, we can just skip that and add that later. And here we see the big benefit of working directly with the database. It will create now the target table. It will create the ETL flow. It will update documentation, update data lineage, and execute this load. And before I finish speaking, the data is already loaded in your database. And as this table has a lot of columns, I want to check on this table now in the next module and see that we do a little bit of aggregation. So maybe let's take the carrier code. Let's have a look in a tree map representation. And already a few seconds after staging, I get a first impression. Maybe I can call back my business user, tell them that the data that arrived doesn't fit their expectation as they expressed it in the requirements document. And the next step is that we need to do is we now need to connect our stage data with the data model. And we do this by defining the business key. And this is a guided process. So we can add here now this table that we just staged. And let's see what the business key could be. And the business user told us in this case, it is about the flight number and the date. And this should identify uniquely a flight. So let's test that. And the tool tells us because the data is already staged, that's not the case. We have duplicates. It tells me how many duplicates I have. And I can here directly look at it, what is the issue, and we will see that the carrier code needs to be included because the flight number doesn't include the carrier code. So this is code sharing. The business user confirms and says, but now it will be unique. So let's test it again, and we get into a second cycle. And this is what I mean by iterations in the area of seconds. Because now the business user had no clue about what the problem is. So we gave him a sample data set, and it turned out that the origin is different. And the funny thing is, it affected Southwestern Airlines. So we just called them and we asked about it. They told us, yes, this makes sense. We do round trip flights. And if you take the origin into account, you should get unique keys. So we added the airport of origin into this. And now it looks right. And now the tool, I'm skipping as well a lot of options like some business key options. Now the tool can create a hub load, the satellite load, and the tracking objects. Probably the most missed part if somebody creates his first data vault. And this is now production ready. So right away, it went as well back to the staging table. It added the staging column for the business key and the hash key. It changed the ETL flow to do the whole pre-calculation thingy. And a few seconds later, we can test the data. And the same is valid for the satellite. So let's just load the satellite information. And here it does SCD type 2. We heard it insert only. Still, we do as well an optimization for as of now queries, because that's probably the most used queries in most of the companies. And we're done, theoretically, because we have no access to the data. So the last thing we need to do is to create an interface. And here I decide what the grain is. So I select the flight hub. I select what my start data set is. I start with the satellite. I can select if I do SCD type 1 or 2 output. This one will be created virtually. The second one would create a pit table, the pit load, and all the management of the pit stuff. But here, for the time being, we just create a simple interface, and we do randomly select some columns. And after we save this, it creates this in a virtual way in the database, so we can test right away what the business users will receive now. And this here is now the minimal implementation, what we have done in the Data Vault Builder. So we first created the data model or imported it. Second thing is we staged the data. Step 3, we connected the data with the model. Step 4, we created an interface to consume this data. In parallel, data lineage was updated. So let's have a look on what we just did. And we can see from the left the source system, stage table, core object, and the output that was generated. We can go into operations, and there was already our job created for the source system. We can start it right away. It will load in the right order. It will parallelize between the layers, within the layers, out of the box. We can schedule it right away here. We can use external schedulers to schedule it. And we can go to the documentation section, regenerate that. And this is not documentation based on your model. This is now documentation based on what is in the database there. So if I would go in the database, delete the hub, it would be removed here from presentation. And at the end, we go into deployment. And this is just the basics. The tool has a very simple interface, but there are many things as well hidden where you can do quite complex stuff, but it doesn't jump into your eyes, so we can directly talk with business users and they understand what we're doing. And now I would open the floor for questions. So if you have any questions, what you want to see in the live demonstration, I think we have 5 more minutes, or you can just as well ask questions in general about data modeling or the presentation part.
Peter, it's Kent. Peter, it's Kent.
Hi, I do hear you.
On the
I do hear you.
on the hash keys, do you have the ability to pick which hash algorithm is used to generate them?
We're getting an echo. We're getting an echo.
So Ken, what's your question? Which kind of hashing algorithm?
Yes. Yeah. Which hash algorithm?
Yes.
Which hash algorithm templates, and can you pick in your templates and which one you use depending on your deployment platform?
Currently, we're using MD5. And still, we're checking in all our installations for. Oh, can you mute, please? Can you mute, please? Thank you, because I was getting an echo. So currently, all our installations are running still with MD5, and it works out without any collisions. We check for them. We have a way, if there would be a collisions, how you could work around that. But nobody so far reported us back that this was ever necessary. But will we change that in the future? Maybe we have isolated it in a separate function, so it wouldn't be a too big thing to change. But currently, we are happy with MD5. Okay, so now we have some questions on the chat. Okay, any practical implementations using this tool with 1,000+ tables? Yes, even with several 1,000+ tables. And we are growing with our clients. We have, in the meantime, enterprise great clients that really have really big installations. That is well why we created version 7, because we have now deployments with several thousand of objects. And in version 6, it took a little bit longer. So in version 7, the deployment module is completely new and can manage really several thousand objects and our deployments between different environments. Now, what if there were null values in the business key column? It depends on if it's a compound key or not. If it's not a compound key and if it's null value, this row doesn't go into a specific hub. Could be that it's like a foreign key relation, which is not filled and not necessary. If it's a compound key and only a part of the key is null, we assume that still it's a valid business key with no value defined for this part. So we would concatenate the key still and load it into the hub just with this part between the separators as nothing. Are required to have access or have imported the database staging tables before doing the conceptual modeling? No, not at all. And it's even not recommended. So you can really start right away creating your conceptual and logical data model in the second you start up the system. So we usually recommend to go into a workshop with your business users, take one business process as the start adding the concept like of the flight here, then adding the concepts around it. Then you have just the blue boxes, then adding the relations. And while doing that, discussing about what does this thing mean in your business? What is the client? What is the customer? Still, if you get the data, it might change, but that you have already like some business understanding. And sometimes that maybe an order might be represented by 2 different things, because the order in terms of sales is not the same as order in terms of logistics and stuff like that. Okay. If so, any challenges noticed on the UI clutter? So that to answer, yes, for sure. It's an issue And in DataVault, I mean, we can just go to the data lineage section. I just started, and there are already a lot of objects. And this is like 2 hours into a project. So the idea what we have is that we don't load everything on the screen at once. So you can search here for single hubs, and it loads everything, just the hub and everything connected directly to the hub, or you can load a subject area or everything connected to a system, but you never get everything at the same time to the screen. And you can then create bookmarks with the visuals that you like. And that's the idea, that you divide and conquer and just look always at smaller bits of the things, and you know it will work out as a whole in the end. Can you have a relationship between a hub and a link table or two link tables? Okay, so I honestly don't understand this question yet, because yes, we have links connecting hubs, and we can have just binary links connecting two hubs, or we can have like unit of work links that link one hub with as many other hubs as you want. So just the classical link approach, but I probably didn't got the question right.
I wrote this question. This is Tam. So I'm wondering that you can link two link objects together.
No, if you, the point is, I always believe that linking links to links directly is a really bad idea. And I think this is as well, Cindy, correct me, it's as well the recommended way not to do that. So if you need to like join two links, you always have a hub bringing them together, representing then the process. That's at least how we do it. Cindy, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so the DataVault standard is that you do not ever join links together. You should never have a link-to-link relationship in your model, ever. So, Peter, you're correct. And the only association you may have between two links that are in common would be a common hub. And that could be two or more links could be using the same hub. That's fine. But you do not create a parent-child relationship between two links in the DataVault model. That is, it's not even not a best practice. It's actually a broken model. That's against the standards.
But what about if you have established a link?
I need you. Can you do me a favor, Tam? Would you mind speaking up or getting closer to the mic? Because I'm having a really hard time hearing you.
Okay, so let's say you have an established link object already, and later on you introduce another hub. So can you link the new hub with the existing link, or you have to redraw a link, another new link table with the three or more hubs together?
So what you're talking about is you have a change to the grain in a link. Is that's what's happening? You've added a new hub to the relationship. Yes. Is that what you're talking about? Correct. You create a new link for it.
Yes, and that's as how we have it in tool. So good to hear, Cindy, that we are on the same page. Good, but it should be, because we read very carefully your documents. Okay, good. So one more question. If you want to physicalize the dimension and facts, do you still need pit and bridge tables? The point is, if you do a as of now query, so like just the latest information about a key, we have already pre-created our indexes, so we can do this on the fly without a pit table. But the pit table doesn't help us just to improve the join performance, but as well we calculate the load time and load time end stamps, because in the insert only mode, we don't calculate end times. So as soon as we do a STD type 2 output, we automatically create pit tables. It speeds up the process. It's a really good step in between. So I honestly agree on that this is the right approach doing that, but the tool is doing it automatically for you, creating the table, creating the loads, putting them in the job. So you don't need to worry about that. You just say, I want to create a STD type 2 output, and that's it. So let's do its thing. It's deterministically derived from this requirement. Good. Can you view a model of the raw vault objects in the diagram? That's a good question. Yes, you can, because we create everything in real time in the database, so you can take any database visualization tool to show the physical model. The question is, why would you do that? You can do it out of interest, but it doesn't give you any additional information that you don't have in your logical data model, because just that every hub has 4 columns, it's a fact. That we need to have tracking tables for every load that goes into a hub, it's a fact. Yes, you can visualize it out of interest, but it will not help you, I think, to gain any new insight. Is there a plan to implement the null key concept as defined by DataVault 2 standards? Required and optional business keys can be identified and captured in the raw vault data. I need to check on that. I will take this question with me. Any tips on choosing business keys? Flight cards are okay for demos, but in real companies' place examples always seem to throw up duplicates. That's a good one. And that's, by the way, a main point of selling our solution, because we go to companies, create POCs, and they always tell us, yes, we don't have any issues with data quality. Our product numbers are unique, our customer numbers are unique. And we go in this kind of test that I showed you, and we always find something. We even found once duplicated logins on an online shop. So what we do here is we have, and that's just a logical concept, something called persistent staging. Is most people just do the same stuff, but calculate it in a part of the raw vault, that you can do a load based on the technical key, which is unique. Then you can create your business rules for cleaning up your stuff like deduplication, and then you come back with the cleaned up business keys, maybe with the latest business key per product and stuff like that, back into the raw vault. Some people as well say, okay, if you do that, this kind of cleanup, you first load in raw vault and then business vault. So I really don't want to here tell you how to name these different layers. For me, it's just, yes, there is a way that you can sometimes, or you need sometimes to load stuff on the technical key, create a cleanup procedure, and then you can come back with the proper business key back into the core. How do you know the tool built the RV correctly? RV stands for? Can anybody help me?
I mean, that's raw vault, Peter.
The raw vault correctly. We can tell you that it's technically creating it correctly because we have a lot of regression tests, but if it business-wise make any sense, honestly, there's no magic. And it can change over time. Your business processes might change over time, so you need to refactor. And this, I think, the only thing that we can guarantee you, that the approach helps you to refactor later. And especially if you have always your here interfaces that abstract the access to the data in your raw vault, you are able to refactor by adding new hubs, adding new relations, and then exchanging the reference in the interface layer. That's the only thing we can guarantee. Okay, and thank you for, yeah. It's a tool for data modelers or data engineers. I would say it helps bringing the people together, and more tasks can be done here by data modelers that needed to be done by data engineers before, like here creating the main model, sometimes as well connecting the business keys. We have parts like the business rules section where we need still data engineers that do some database SQL magic in here, but as well the data engineers usually are able, after some learn curve, to create the models here. So I think we enable more people to do more of the stuff, so there is more overlap created and more cooperation created between these two teams.
All right, well, thank you, Peter. That was very interesting, and I really enjoyed the demo.
Thank you a lot.
Maybe at a future time we can get you back to do a more deep dive into some of the features of DataVault Builder. I will ask, we'll probably get a few more questions coming in, but we may just wait. We'll have another opportunity to answer a few questions after Greg has done his presentation after the break. Maybe we could move on now and hear from the rest of our sponsors, and then take a well-deserved break after that. So first up, let me share my screen here. Sorry, Mary, I've taken over from you.
It's okay.
Here we go. So I am not actually presenting though. Shoot, sorry guys. I might have to scroll through this. Just give me a sec to get to the right spot. Good help is so hard to find. 1 sec. Oh. Okay, so let's hear. So then first up is resultant, and that's Kyle. Kyle, go for
it.
You sharing?
I'm not sharing my screen. Sure I am.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought I was.
There you go.
There we go. Awesome. Well, hey, everybody. My name is Kyle Cook. I'm a business development executive and training coordinator for Resultant. I get the privilege of working with Mary, Gail, and Sam, who are all on the DVNAUG board over at Resultant. We're a data consulting firm out of Indianapolis with our primary data location in Dallas, which is where I'm located. We help all of our clients just across North America in 4 main focus areas, as you can see on the screen. With data pipeline, data governance and strategy, data science, and data visualization. This graphic is just really effective in demonstrating how we assist our clients with moving their data from point A all the way to point Z. So just polished reporting platforms accessible to end users with all the different steps needed to get there in between. So like Mary always likes to say, our approach is simple. We like to work ourselves out of a job. We're a group of data experts in the business of making, teaching, enabling, and empowering data experts within their own organizations. Our successful projects are determined by how self-sufficient our clients are when development is complete. We want to make our clients the experts of their own data solutions and help them to be just the real heroes to their end users and their customers. And lastly, we love DataVault at Resultant and make up about half the DVNAUG board, like I mentioned. We were the original foundational sponsors and have around, I don't know, Mary, if this has changed, but I think we're at 14 DataVault clients with 15 DataVault practitioners. So very happy to have conversations with you if you need any help with your DataVault implementation or anything else that is on this screen. So thank you guys very much.
Great, thanks, Kyle. And next up, we've got Cindy with Data Rebels.
Thank you, Janet. Welcome, everyone. Data Rebels is an authorized training partner of DataVault Alliance. I am a certified instructor. I've been an instructor since 2016. Data Rebels actually has 3 areas in which we service our clients. Through authorized training for certified DataVault practitioners. We also have something called a Kickstart, which is a combination of training and basically a 7-day fast build. And then finally, we handle consulting and coaching. Our business model is a bit different than most consulting companies. I like to say that DataVault, as far as we're concerned, we follow the mantra of get in, get the data, and get out. When we're consulting, we are looking to actually create fishermen, not fish for you. And so one of our strongest, I would say, talents is that we like to help coach our clients in their implementation teams to be completely self-sufficient. So that is our goal, is to make you successful. And part of that is enabling your company to invest in you. That is what we're looking for, internal education and training for the team itself, to invest in their own employees, to build out their own solutions, and to basically remove the need to have consulting firms in there day after day, week after week, year after year. So that is how I run the business. And so I appreciate it. If you want to check it out, datarebels.com. You can also reach me at Cindy, that's CINDI, at datarebels.com. And I'd love to talk to you. So thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. And next up, we have Eon Collective, and I don't have the name, sorry, of the person that's talking for Eon in front of me.
That's me.
Hi, me, go for it.
Hi, everybody, I'm Paul Kinnear. I'm the director of DataVault Solutions at Eon Collective. Happy to be here with you today. Eon Collective, we are a data modernization company offering end-to-end solutions in data governance, warehousing, security, and analytics. We love teaching our clients basically the 3 different principles of Eon best practice and people, process, and technology. We love helping our clients pick the particular technologies that they implement their data solutions on. We are a team of exceptional individuals at every level who are passionate about transforming data challenges into opportunities. We do have a new CEO in Jock Heistock from VMware. We also have a brand new director of channel partners, and Amy Levine is playing a pivotal role in our different partnerships. We have a strong group of partnerships with several of the different vendors that are actually here with us today, as well as service companies that help us assist our customers in ways to ensure that they have the best people on the teams for their projects. We are innovating globally. Eon Collective has offices in North America, and we've recently offered new offices in offshore in Kenya and India. We have our own product called Adept that almost all of our customers use to help enable their toolkits for data migration, data conversion, and governance projects. We have our expertise as across a wide range of the DataVault automation tools. Like we're looking at DataVault Builder today. We also have resources who have skills in Warescape, VaultSpeed, Coalesce, Automate DB, Irwin Rapid Data Vault, and more. We also have plenty of expertise and resources that support ETL tools such as Talon, dbt, and IICS, data migration tools like Fivetran and Click Replicate, and Stitch Data. Our proficiency extends to database tools like Snowflake, MySQL, Oracle, Postgres, you name it, and data governance tools as far as Calibra, Elation, Irwin Data Intelligence. We also have a group of excellent data modelers that use tools like SQL DBM that we saw earlier, ER Studio and Irwin, and business intelligence services for modeling around your information delivery layer for tools like Power BI and Tableau. Our dedicated group of experts are here to guide you, support you, drive innovation in your data journey, and reach out to us by using the website on the screen here or the phone number you see here as well. And we'd be happy to talk to you. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, thanks, Paul. And last up, we have Warescape. And again,
Hey.
sorry, I don't know who's chatting for Warescape.
My name is Patrick O'Halloran. I'm a product specialist at Warescape. Glad to be here. Glad to be supporting DVNAUG. I think it's a great group. We, as I said yesterday, we try and refer as many people as we can to this user group. It's a great exchange of knowledge. Warescape as a company has been around 20 years. We started it as a consulting company, manually building data warehouses, and realized that there are a lot of repetitive tasks. So we started building tools to automate those tasks, and that became our tools that we now sell as a software company. So we added DataVault as a supported methodology. I think about 6 years ago, we probably have a few hundred customers that have used Warescape to help build their DataVault. I'm in the process of writing a case study. Unfortunately, I can't see the company yet because they don't have their approval to release it yet. But in the case study, they cited that they had 20 people working on building a data warehouse, and after 1 year, they gave up. They just couldn't get it done manually. That they started looking at automation tools, found Warescape, and 2 people finished that project in less than a year. So that really shows off the power of data automation. So if you're looking at DataVault and looking at building data vaults, I strongly recommend data automation. I got a personal preference about which one's the best. But if you want to check us out at warescape.com, we'll be glad to talk to you. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate that. So now we're going to have a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and hear from Greg from Yale University. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We'll get on now with hearing from Greg. Hang on a sec, there we go. Greg is the Director of Enterprise Data Management at Yale University and has over 40 years of application and enterprise data management experience. Greg's area of focus is all things data, and I really appreciate that. He deals with data modeling, data governance, data management, data as a product, and all data warehouse operations. And Greg, we are really looking forward to hearing how Yale University has implemented DataVault. So go ahead, Greg.
Well, I hope everyone got a chance to stretch your legs. I'd like to welcome you to this session. Thank you for giving me the time to share our journey with DataVault and DataVault Builder. First, I'll share a little bit about myself. And I have my video on. So as obviously you know, I'm Gregory Locke. I joined Yale as an employee in 2018. I started my IT career with the state of Connecticut quite a long time ago. I've worked in many different sectors as an employee, a consultant, in application development, networking, data center operations, database management, and architecture. And for the past 30 years, I've focused on data warehousing and analytics. I've built several data integration COEs and data architecture practices. So enough about me. Let's explore Yale's enterprise warehouse and reporting architecture. So it's a basic implementation of DataVault, something that I'm sure you're all familiar with. We load source data into a persisted staging area. From there, we generate hash business keys and load the raw vaults. Next, we use views to build the consumption layer. And these views are then fed to data marts and cubes or API data services for downstream applications. So this is our standard pattern for each warehouse. So let's take a look at DataVault Builder architecture and the processes within it. From left to right, as you can see, it looks the same. Peter's shown you this already. Data is loaded into the staging area, then it's persisted in the raw vault, and then you apply business rules in the consumption layer. So this made implementing DataVault Builder a simple transition for us. We didn't have to change anything in our architecture. So again, as Peter has shown, the menu in DataVault Builder leads you through the design and development process from left to right. So this is very simple, very important. Everything's consistent. And what I really like about DataVault Builder is it's a black box. You no longer need to know or be concerned about the code inside the warehouse. So next, I'm going to share how it helped us cut costs and time to market. So first, a little bit of background on our approach. One of the most important goals of the university is to bring data together to support reporting and analytics. But Yale suffers from the typical information silo syndrome. It's very difficult and time-consuming to generate comprehensive and accurate reports, and often requires business users to integrate data from multiple systems on their desktop. Our strategy to enable these business goals is to build a common reporting platform. So how are we going to do this? What were our objectives? Number one, be flexible. Work with the customer to deliver what they need. Be repeatable. Do it time and time again. Don't keep inventing the wheel. And be reliable and deliver high quality data 24/7. So what was our strategy? How did we achieve these goals? First, use the DataVault methodology. That was a no-brainer. And I'd like to thank Robert Scott. He's on the chat here, so I think he has a big hand in that. Second, simplify whenever possible. So break down complex processes into smaller chunks. DataVault 2.0 satellite concept. It's agile, right? Third, leverage reusable patterns, parameterize common procedures. And fourth, generate code from metadata whenever possible. For example, we use a lot of SQL to generate SQL. Next, I'll share 2 warehouse development projects for a side-by-side comparison. On the left, we built our first DataVault warehouse by hand using the strategy previously mentioned, and we used Talon for data extraction and loading. The purpose of the Person Warehouse Data Hub is to simplify data sharing with 150 downstream applications and support several real-time API services. This warehouse contains detailed history on over 300,000 persons associated with the university today. On the right, our first no-code model-driven POC warehouse used Talon to extract data to the staging area and to load it from the warehouse to the marts. We used DataVault Builder to model the warehouse and to build the consumption layer. This warehouse is focused on event space usage analytics. We have over 4,700 spaces across campus, from classrooms to tennis courts, and we've captured over 500,000 reservations so far. So this helps us better understand utilization and demand of our spaces, which is very important to the university. So now let's compare the activities for each role on the 2 projects. I've always liked RACIs. This is kind of an abridged version of a RACI, but on the hand-coded project on the left, the DA performed data profiling, DataVault modeling, and business layer design. On the model-driven project, the DA performed data profiling, data vault modeling, business layer design, and data mart modeling. On the hand-coded side, the ETL architect was involved in design and build throughout the project. On the model-driven project, the ETL architect was replaced with Data Vault Builder. It wasn't needed anymore. On the hand-coded project, the ETL engineer was focused on data sourcing, stage loading, data vault loading, orchestration, and testing end-to-end. On the model-driven project, the ETL engineer was focused on data sourcing, data mart loading, orchestration, and testing end-to-end. And on the hand-coded project, the BA was focused on requirements analysis and testing every data hop, source to stage, stage to vault, vault to business layer. On the model-driven project, the BA was focused on requirements analysis, testing source to the business layer, and the business layer to the data marts. So the main differences here is that we didn't need an ETL architect for the data vault design in the model-driven approach, and there was much less testing required for the BA and the developers across the board. So let's take a look at the project complexity and compare the two. When comparing the effort across the two projects, you'll see that the object counts are similar, hubs, satellites, links, but the effort is significantly less. We saw a 75% reduction or savings in our time to market as well on the model-driven side when compared to the hand-coded side. So that was several years ago. I believe we delivered that in 2018. That was our first Data Vault data warehouse. So where are we now? So since we started the Data Vault journey in 2016, the warehouse platform has experienced year after year growth based on customer demand. The data management team has grown from 1 data architect and 3 ETL engineers to 3 data architects and 3 ETL engineers. And we're now able to support multiple projects in parallel and handle production support at the same time. I'd like to give a shout out to one of our newest certified Data Vault practitioners, Azam Hussain. He just passed the exam last month. So cheers, kudos to him. And with Data Vault Builder in our tool chest, we can deliver warehouses faster than users can QA them. We're typically waiting for users to QA our warehouses. Another area to consider is scalability. We chose to scale out horizontally, and not because of Data Vault, but for other reasons. So rather than vertically with a single warehouse. Why? It's much easier to build. It's much easier to test. It's much easier to maintain and manage smaller independent warehouses, as well as implementing security at a domain level. And with the Data Vault architecture, there's really no downside. The warehouses are more performant, and we don't have a single point of failure. Smaller warehouses are also much faster to restore. Try restoring a 100 gigabyte warehouse in a few hours from an offshore third-party data source. It's not easy. So each warehouse has its own dedicated Data Vault Builder instance, its own load schedule, as updates, etc., the business layer and security layer. Each warehouse has its own data steward and functional owner that goes along with that, and they control the content and the access. Data access is most often gained through secure data mart views, and the data marts or analysis services tabular models are where we combine data from multiple domains to satisfy integrated reporting requirements. So this was my last slide. I hope we caught you up. We're not going to make you late for dinner. I hope you found the story interesting. And again, thanks for your time.
Oh, thank you very much, Greg. Now we'll open the floor if anyone has any questions for either Greg or for Peter. Feel free to put them in the chat.
Data Vault Alliance, if you don't know already, our CEO, as Dan Lin said, he's the creator and inventor of Data Vault. Data Vault Alliance is responsible for managing and maintaining the Data Vault standards worldwide. So we are the standards board. There are 3 of us as business partners in Data Vault Alliance, Dan, Sanjay Panda, and myself. And so Data Vault Alliance also manages things like a technical forum, for example. It's a free forum that you can go out and actually post questions. We just ask that you register with email, very simple to do. Or you can simply peruse the forums and look for similar, I would say problems or questions that people may have about DataVault and implementing DataVault. All of our certified instructors are on the forums along with our very own Kent Graziano and Scott Ambler. They're also out there answering questions on the forum. So it's just a great resource. I'll just say that right now. In addition, 2 weeks ago, we launched a new membership subscription platform. There is a starter membership that costs you nothing. You register on the DVA platform for the starter membership. What this provides you with in the starter is a series of both videos and PDFs that you can access for free. If you'll look at looking at the slide, there's a couple of courses in there. We call them micro courses that cover things like, from data to business value. This micro course is a culmination of several presentations that have been given at the conference over the years, including one of the presentations that was given by our keynote this year at the conference. And it's basically DataVault from the business perspective, or how to talk to the business. So they're very helpful. We also are including in the free membership conference materials, the full recordings for the conferences from 2016 and 2017. So that is the free membership. I'll just speak for a moment about the professional charter membership. The charter membership, this $497 annual fee, is only going to be up for another 2 weeks. We're going to take that off. It's for charter members only. The benefit of charter membership is if you register and you pay for the annual charter membership before the deadline, which is, I believe, the 30th of September, you will always be charged $497 a year. It will never go up on you. So as other materials are added to the membership, to the professional membership, you'll have access to those new materials for the same price as the charter start. So in the charter membership, some of the things that are really quite interesting here, we are doing a monthly webinar. Dan, Sanjay, and I are running a monthly webinar. Charter members are allowed to join the webinar, and we have a full hour question and answer period where you can actually ask us how to handle certain things. And that is for charter members only. In addition, we're adding a quarterly webinar that is going to be a mini training series. So the webinars will have a topic, all of them will have a topic, and then we'll open it up for question and answers. In addition, with the charter professional membership, you have full access to all of the conference materials, not just from everything that's in the starter membership, but also for conference materials from 2018, 2019, and 2021. So there's quite a bit in there. There are some mini courses. There's an intro to DataVault and data mesh. That's got recordings from Roche, from myself, and a couple other people addressing data mesh and DataVault. There is a hands-on tutorial that you would have access to as well. And then, of course, there's a more extended course on DataVault for business users. And this incorporates a lot of the business recordings that we've had at the conferences over the year, and it expands that a bit. So those are the two professional memberships. And you can, also go out and read a little bit more about those on the LearnDataVaultAlliance.com website. Okay. So Janet, do you want to flip this chart for me? Okay. And so the other thing that I wanted to point out here, I posted a very long answer in the chat here regarding the link to link structure and sort of what's behind the rationale in DataVault for why we don't build things like that. There's probably more extensive information out on the forums. Ask DVA is a free forum, which I mentioned before. and you can actually search it and find answers to a lot of your questions. All of the authorized, certified instructors are answering questions on the forum. You will get a qualified, vetted answer to your technical question if it's posted out there. So they're free, doesn't cost you anything to do this. And so there you go. And that's all I have to say about this today.
All right. Thanks, Cindy. Appreciate that. Standing in for Dan.
No worries.
So now what we've got is our draw prizes. So these were done, we pre-draw the draw prizes. We take all of the names that have applied, usually by around noon on the day of the presentation. The ones that have opted in and have provided an email address, we put them in this wheel of names. We spin the wheel 9 times and we come up with 9 winners. And these are the sponsors, what the sponsors are offering this time around. Resultant's giving away a $50 Amazon gift card. Data Rebels is giving away Choose Your Wow by Scott Ambler and Mark Lines. Young Collective is giving a $50 Audible gift card. SQL DBM is a $50 Amazon gift card. You can see a trend here. Infovia is also a $50 Amazon gift card. VaultSpeed's bucking the trend and giving away a selection of Belgian beers. And Performance G2, again, a Amazon gift card. DataVault Builder, a $50 Amazon gift card. And Warescape is also a $50 Amazon gift card.
I think this is an advertisement for Amazon
gift cards. Amazon has
Okay.
not given us any kickbacks for giving them all this
Okay,
business.
so let's get on to the winners.
So here are the winners. So for Resultant, the gift card goes to Jim Guppy. Congratulations, Jim. For Data Rebels, the book goes to Noel Cruz. Congratulations, Noel. Eon Collective.
He's a multi-winner.
Pardon me?
He's a multi-winner here.
Multi-winner, is he? Oh, there you go. Eon Collective, the $50 Audible gift card goes to Gary Schuster. The Warescape Amazon gift card goes to Barry McConnell. And the assorted Belgian beers offered by VaultSpeed goes to Maury Hamill. The $50 gift card from Performance G2 goes to Cy Tam. The Amazon gift card from SQL DBM goes to Chris Seaman. The $50 gift card from DataVault Builder goes to Andy Asenio, and I apologize if I'm butchering people's names. And last but not least, the $50 gift card from Infovia goes to Mary Beth Dowse. Congratulations, all the winners.
Congratulations, everybody. And that was Asensio.
Anyway, yes.
Congratulations.
I had practiced
everybody.
it properly first, but there you are. So the sponsors will get in touch. Mary and the sponsors will get in touch with the winners, and we'll get you your prizes as soon as we can. Mary, would you like to finish off today's event?
Sure. All right. Okay. Well, this was great. I really loved the presentations. The sponsors were great. We're finishing ahead of schedule, which I think is a first for us. So it's really awesome. I hope everybody enjoyed it and learned some new things about DataVault. Our next event, mark the date. It's December 6th. And we've got Doug Needham is going to be speaking. I've never heard him personally, but I heard a lot of great things about him, and he's going to talk to us about building an enrichment platform with DataVault. So we're really excited to have him next. And we really appreciate all of you staying. The numbers seem to, we got your attention and we kept you guys. So really, really happy that you were here. Anyway, thank you so much and have a wonderful day.